Good evening. It's Tuesday, June 25th. The time is now 6 p.m. and I call the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, seeing we have a quorum, let's move on to the review of minutes for the, is it the April meeting?
Yes.
Okay, we have two minutes to review this evening, 3:22 and 4:30. Board discussion. Seeing no board discussion, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the financials as presented to us.
The minutes?
I'm sorry. Getting ahead of the game here. My apologies. Mr. Chair, I move to accept the minutes as presented to us.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Sheriff's report.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. I have for April, I wasn't here. I didn't make that meeting, so but I have that in May and for this month as well. So for April, what I had really two incidents of note. One was 200. It was in Booty Estates. I won't give the exact address, but on the 23rd, we had a boyfriend girlfriend. He kicked in the door, came in. Hit her a few times. It was really domestic, but, he forced his way in the house, then left. We did a warrant for him, which he was arrested. We did a warrant for him for the burglary for the house, and then we also did damage to property using the housing authority for the victim of that. That one was done. He was arrested, and we had one that same month on the 4th in Hornville, group of black males in the street, arguing, fighting in the street. We get a call. They left before we got there. We found the car leaving the neighborhood. They stopped them. I don't remember exactly how many. I think it was 4 in the car. They stopped them. They had some marijuana. I think 31 grams of marijuana, and a couple of them had warrants, attachments, and we made those arrests. Other than that, we of course always have some neighborhood things and domestics. We get a lot of the four-wheelers again are starting up because it's summer. Of course, more kids out and about, just summer, kind of our normal summer pattern would for neighborhoods. It's not any specific neighborhood, but though, that's kind of normal. We expect that. But other than that, our call ratio in the areas are really low, which is good. It's always nice. So, and what they're doing is they're not actually, our hours have kind of dropped. It's not that they're not patrolling it, but it's just patrolling through, police cars being seen, and moving on to, fortunately for the housing projects, to the neighborhoods that are having more issues. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease with the sheriff's office. It's like we're going to those neighborhoods and spending a whole lot more time in some of those neighborhoods, and like I said, both the housing projects are really doing well in there right now. So hopefully it keeps up.
Well, I think the cameras have a lot to do with
that helps, and it's kind of always in the back of their mind. And
Yes.
and we always have a bad element in any neighborhood, every neighborhood. But I think that bad element may be moving off to other areas to do their dirty.
where they can't be seen.
And which it is, I tell you, whatever and everything that's going on, it is definitely, we're moving forward in a positive way.
Can I ask that you provide me with incident reports when it's within our development? I would tend to have a tendency not to let us know.
Yes.
When there's an incident, especially when there are doors kicked in, we need to make sure that we secure our property, maybe repairs that need to be done.
Right. This one was, like I said, the one on in Booty, we had made contact with, I don't remember who it was. It wasn't my ship that worked it. It was just,
You got it? Awesome.
and they had done it, but I can, our new system is in place, our new computer system, so, I can give you, if you guys want, basically, I can give you like a report of any, calls, like, reports or any of that, but we get a fair amount of calls that may not be report written, but it may be, I don't know, dogs barking or, somebody speeding down the street or, but I mean, I can give you guys kind of.
Criminal activity?
Any.
Car being stopped, were they residents in Harville?
No.
not?
Well, one of them was, and then some friends were visiting. And, now they didn't stop these guys actually in the projects. So they had left and it was, we were visiting some friends. And, I had read it over. I have the report still, but I mean, I can get you any of those that, you guys want, like anything of note. I can, print them up for you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hollis, did you still want to have a meeting with the sheriff?
I do. I learned, we had an incident where I actually had to call the police for, the incident was that a resident had guests that were unruly. And I called the police because I wanted them removed from the property. It is a government property, and I was told that we could not have them removed. But a week later, a group of officers came to our office to review the cameras, which helped them
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
to identify and arrest or develop a arrest warrant for someone who had broke into another property. And at that point, they shared with me that there's a list of individuals that are banned. So if we have a list of individuals that's banned, how is it that I can't have anyone removed?
Well, we can. I don't know, like I said, maybe a deputy that came in, may have been, maybe a young deputy or something that just maybe wasn't informed properly or, cause I mean, normally a lot of it is like if on a normal house, but even that we can, if you homeowner or something wants them out, I guess the issue maybe on that, was it the resident calling about it? It was you guys.
It was me that called, yeah.
And I'm guessing because he probably took the approach that it's a residence, that lives there, kind of almost in a sense that he probably took the approach of, you guys are like maybe a landlord, type. And I'm not positive. I'll find out about that too. So I'm sure we can, because it is special circumstance housing. It's not.
It's housing.
It's not. I'm not your landlord. It's just where the federal government we're providing this housing for you guys under these certain rules and guidelines.
Yeah. So the meeting is so that we could have the sheriff make sure that all the officers that patrol, particularly in our area, understand the rules and regulations. Because if I call as the executive director trying to deter crime and the police officers don't support, then that could be a problem.
Yeah. So are you going to be able to set that meeting up or?
Yes, what I'll do is I'll get my captain and it'll bump up and I'll get with you guys. I work tomorrow. I work tomorrow evening and I'll get with him tomorrow and let him know what you guys are looking for.
To be you and I at that meeting?
Yes, I would definitely want to have a commissioner.
All right. Any other board discussion or?
No, sir. No.
Lieutenant, you have anything else?
No, like I said, I'll get with my captain tomorrow and,
right.
bump this up the chain for you guys.
Awesome.
All right. And, I'll see you guys next month.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Man.
All right. The next agenda item this evening is the review of low rent and HCVP expense reports for April and May 2019. Any board discussion? Mr. Woods?
I don't see our fee accounting. I mean, I just was gonna ask, and I guess I figured out, just to do to each other things, I'm not seeing the numbers jive, but I'll guess ask Mr. Ricotta some other time. And is there a new format we're looking at here also?
You are
Just
looking
me?
at a new format. These financials were printed from our internal system. We have successfully transferred from our system into our system based on what we were working on over the months. I'm not comfortable with it. We're working on some tweaks. We will be able to discuss in detail at our board retreat in July. So any questions that you have or any format that you would like to see differently or anything that you would want, please have that prepared. That will be the time we could get as detailed as we need to.
I did notice the new format, and how I want to say that, I was able to digest it a little better than all the other the other formats. So,
Right. It's easier to read.
Yes, it really is.
It's easier to read, but we have some tweaks that we need to make.
Okay, perfect.
Ms. Hollis, do you have any thing that the board in particular should be brought to attention on the reports?
The financial reports, well, we've talked at a board, as a board. Matter of fact, at the last meeting, we talked about putting committees together as it relates to oversight management. But for the financials, we receive our financials from our fee accountant, or he's inputting that data. In communication with HUD, they pinpoint areas that we, as an organization, need to be focusing on specifically. Presentation of the minutes, of the financial report has changed. The information that's being inputted is still the same. And because of the systems we had in place, a lot of decisions and liberties have been taken by the fee accountant, decisions that should be our decisions, but because we were not focusing or did not know to focus in certain areas, then we kind of missed it. So the unrestricted net position is something that you guys will want me and the fee accountant to talk about every board meeting. The restricted net position of the organization is something that you would want me and the fee accountant to talk about at every meeting. And those things that influence those numbers going up and down. One of the things that I discovered in the conference call, I guess I'm into my directors.
We'll stick to the financial aspect of that. But
In the financials.
I know you and I had talked earlier about some issues with the fee accountant and things, and so I wanted to go on the record, and then after you do your thing, I'm going to elaborate on a few things.
Okay, so one of the things that I discovered during the conference call, there's times when things don't make sense to me, but if I understand red and you're presenting blue, I'm not going to go blue just because you give me paper. I need to understand how it operates and how the things, how one relates to the other. And we have our VMS, we get that report, but we still should be focusing on those two things that I said, because those are the things that control whether or not we will be successful to move forward or not, or whether we're growing or not how it looks at the development, the numbers, because the finances control the organization. So we have been having issues with our VMS. Our agency at this particular time has been placed on a freeze. We are prohibited from leasing up because we leased up so fast that we exceeded what was budgeted for our organization based on expectations of the previous years. What that did was brought attention to our VMS system, because our VMS system tells HUD what's happening at our agency, and no one saw, based on what was being reported, the increase. The problem it caused is that we wind up having a shortfall. So HUD's giving us $160,000 every month to pay landlords. We are paying $180,000, but we have money in the bank, something I've always said. We've always had money in the bank. So to get a better understanding of HUD expectations, we had a conference call. And in the conference call, the gentleman that facilitated the conference call went line item by line item explaining it. And as he explained it, I saw an area where there was a zero, but what it said was cash on hand. So he, kind of brushed it off. He said, well, you guys don't have cash on hand. You have a shortfall. And I'm like, no, sir. We have cash on hand. So at this time, the fee accountant stated that he has not been reporting to HUD that we have cash on hand. And the reason, he had a reason for it, even though he didn't have the authority to make that decision. The reason is that our agency spent $100,000 and some odd in disaster money without reporting it to HUD. I don't understand how we could do financials and not expose that. But his decision was to not reveal the money we had on hand so that money could be paid back. Now, I did have a conversation with him months ago about a debt that needed to be repaid. I'm assuming it's fine, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that because the money we has to take care of this year. If I take this year's money to deal with old debt, then we're going to have a problem this year. So he moved forward anyway based on his plan. So at that time, HUD shared with us that any revenue given to us to generate in one particular year cannot be used for old debt. So you can't do it anyway. But the other thing HUD did was to make us go back, all the way back to the beginning of the year, and report the money that we have on hand. That reduced our shortfall from 80,000. Remember, we were operating in a deficit. That reduced our shortfall from 80,000 to 38,000, which meant we were in a better position than we were before. The other thing, now that I understand what to look at, is I started looking at our unrestricted net position. And our unrestricted net position has been improving every month because we are increasing activity. We're issuing more vouchers, which means we're generating more administrative fee. That's the way it should work. But what I've noticed is that in the month of March, in the month of April, in the month of May, we have created big deficits. That's not logical. So it's my responsibility, I understand, as the executive director, but what I'm doing at this time is now going through every financial we've gotten, and I need to understand each line item, and I need to understand the impact and how we could have such a big change, not from leasing up, but because internally we've not changed anything. So that's what I wanted to share with the board.
And as you get that line item understanding, that was some of the questions as I'm reading through that. I can read something, I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from sometimes. And so as you understand that, maybe we can incorporate that explanation of some of the line items in our retreat.
We are going to have him at the board retreat.
Okay.
We're going to have 2 hours of him.
But, and did HUD, so we weren't in compliance with HUD by not reporting our cash on cash?
What was their response?
Yeah.
We're on a corrective action plan. We're on a corrective action plan. Basically, they are now focusing on what we are doing internally as it relates to our reporting. And what's happening is that we've made changes. The VMS is no longer done outside the office. I've never been comfortable, I've always shared with the board, that I've never been comfortable not having my books in my office. So the VMS reporting is now done by us. The fee accountant does not do that anymore. So we are ensuring that whatever needs to be reported is reported. HUD is only going to hold us accountable. They're not going to tell us. At the end of the year, they'll hold us accountable.
They're going to hold us accountable, yeah. So basically, we're getting rid of, it's like a check and balance.
It is a check and balance.
And before, we just had one person just doing all the financials. And
Doing all the financials and with us not
looking at
understanding where he was generating any information for, which is why I started including the board package, the
So-
bank statements.
My question, I mean, I don't know, he's not here, so he can't answer for himself. But my question is why? Why? What, how did that help us by him not reporting?
It didn't help us. It hurted our position.
I understand that.
It hurt us.
But what was his logic behind
It
it?
would have resolved the debt from the previous year. He's been there for
I'm gonna
3 years.
interject here.
But
So-
it was just being covered over. It wasn't really resolving the debt.
Correct. I guess someday,
So
at some date.
we run into my initial problem that I've been talking about for the longest time.
Right.
Is that I just, in my opinion, it's been going on long enough.
Right.
So,
And I know that we now have a check and balance system, but what other creative ways can something like this happen again? And in my opinion, is to find a team player, not somebody that's going to, because there's going to be another opportunity where there's going to be another opportunity to hide information or not report it. And it becomes a question of the person and their ethics. And
Commissioner Bailey, I'm going to let
keep
you
that.
continue. I just want to interject at this point. So based on what Ms. Hollis has said, and And based on our ongoing frustrations with our current fee accountant, who is not here this evening, who has always been asked to be at the board meetings, the issue, there's a few issues. Number one, we know that there hasn't been transparency with the financials. We've battled it. And because of the way HUD reports, and then based on the way that our fee accountant reports different than HUD, and the different reports that we received, there's always been confusion. And we've gone down this road thousands of times, literally, over the 3.5 years or so that I've been on the board. And we've made some corrective action steps to make more transparent. Moving forward, we're going to need a new fee accountant. Unfortunately, I have to say this in a public meeting because it will let our current fee accountant know, but, you know, that's the case of it. We're in a position, and this is why people have issues with government, and I want this to be said as well. The reason that people have issues with government is because when corrective action has to take place, there's so much red tape and so much process. If this was a private corporation, we would have fired the fee accountant and hired a new one in one day. But because it's a government agency, we can't lose the fee accountant who's doing some things right and some things poorly, and maybe some things with bad intentions, or I don't know what his intentions are, but regardless, there's issues. And any private corporation would have long since fired him, but because of our checks and balances and because of the bureaucracy and the red tape within government, we are forced to continue on this path until we find someone new and get them up to speed on our financials. And then the import of the old financials, because of the systems that were in place previously without the proper checks and balances, it really is ludicrous. And as a board, we have strived to be transparent. We have been frustrated with the lack of transparency. So, you know, I'm speaking for myself and not for the entire board, but I believe the consensus from the board would be the same. It's complete ludicrous, and also it's a long time coming. So, you know, I don't know how comfortable Mr. Ricotta is going to feel at that board retreat, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm just voicing, I'm voicing my frustration, and we're all going in the right direction. I mean, that was a great idea to integrate, you know, both of our accounting systems so we can watch over, and it also gives us backlog of our financials so they're not just lost in the black hole when that transition happens.
Right, we have real-time access, and we do have access for the commissioners. So anytime you want to see our financials, you have access to see them. And you can have remote control access. Yes?
I noticed our websites is not up to date.
Yeah.
It's not loaded up there like supposed to access it.
Yeah, we're going to do an RFP. We're going to do an RFP. We need a system a little bit more sophisticated so that we can have interaction with our tenants, with our applicants, and just the general public, our landlords. We need portals where they can go in and communicate with us, like every other housing authority. We don't have that. We don't have that. We need to update it. We never even much put on it that you're our new commissioner.
Yes.
And you are the newest to be.
So at this time, looking at the financial, if there's no further board discussion, I'm just going to accept the financial reports that we have into the record. There's no need for a vote. It's part of the record, public record. And we can move on to VMS if the board doesn't have anything else. But I do think moving forward from this point, we are actively seeking then, Ms. Hollis, a new fee accountant, putting out the RFPs for that?
We will have our RFPs to come out in July.
Okay. So, we'll see how that goes,
I'm good with
if
that, yes.
Mr. Ricotta watches this meeting.
I would just say, as one of the people that's been on this board for a little bit, I'm with you on the transparency and the frustrations. I like what we have begun to put in place, and I think it's time to get the financial reporting and things in order. So hopefully that'll be some more discussion at our retreat also.
I believe that Mr. Ricotta has been here since I've been on the board, as the fee accountant. I think he came on board as the fee accountant shortly before I came on board. My understanding is that he was actually initially brought on board as a consultant to correct a issue or to assist with the correction of an issue. And at that time, he had never been a fee accountant for an agency. And now, as a result, he's actually making money off of the fact that we've given him the experience to be a fee accountant. And God only help the other agencies in this country that have now employed him. And I'm going to take slack for making that comment publicly, but I really don't care. Because this system that's in place is not what HUD has asked for. It's not what the commissioners have asked for, and this has gone on from my standpoint for 3.5 years. So anyway, I've probably said too much. That's okay. I'll recover from it.
Can we improvise? We are on VMS report.
Yes.
Can we go to, just based on significance or relevance, can we go to the administrative report and I introduce Ms. Hayes so that she can give us a report? The VMS report is simply generated from what information that's inputted into our system for our HCV program.
Any board objection?
No, sir.
All right, seeing none, we'll move on to administrative report, and we'll introduce Ms. Hayes.
Okay, good evening, Board. I'd like to start with the HCV, or Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. For that program, we currently have a total number of port-outs at 8. 5 of those port-outs are leased up. Port-outs are tenants who have gone to another jurisdiction other than our own and who are living in those jurisdictions. So, but they have vouchers from St. Charles Parish. We have 3 people who are searching. We also have a total number of port-ins to our parish, or 7. 6 of those people have leased up, and 1 is currently searching. At the end of this month, the end of the month of May, we have 2 people who are expected to terminate their participation in our program under Housing Choice Voucher. They've either no longer need the voucher, and they have decided to become homeowners on their own. Let's see what else. We currently have new contracts because of our, we've currently leased up as much as possible under our current budget. We have 3 applicants from our waiting list who are searching for units in our jurisdiction. The total amount of HAP payments for the month of May was $169,519. The outgoing port payments were $1,571.81, and our incoming port payments are $4303.74 for the month of May. Currently, that is all for the HCV program. As Ms. Hollis spoke before, she stated that our housing authority is currently under a freeze because of the amount of leasing we have done in the past few months. So that is a good and bad thing.
It's a good thing. I want to say we changed our process as it relates to the Section 8 program. One of the things that we had a problem with was landlord participation. We have overcome that barrier. And it's based on communication, presentation, and just education as it relates to conception of what Section 8 meant or who holds a Section 8 voucher. And within 90 days, we were able to lease up, and we're doing session. Instead of meeting with a family, we do an orientation. And the very first orientation was in December. We had a total of 32 people. We engaged the real estate community, which means we have realtors searching for units. They get paid. You know, there's a commission that's paid by the landlord. So we did in December, in the orientation, we had a total of 32 people that participated with realtor help and with also putting the word out and educating landlords. We were able to lease all of those out within 90 days. So from January to March, we were able to lease those out. The housing choice voucher can also be used for home ownership. With that being said, we have submitted a FSS grant application so that we can start our own home ownership program. We did a workshop. In the workshop, we had 14 people to come to the workshop. I count 12 because 2 was Charles and his wife. So I don't count. I don't count you, Charles, but we had 12 people at the library. From that workshop, we have 2 homeowners. We have a Section 8 voucher holder who turned her voucher in and acquired her own home. She has closed, and she did not need public assistance. We have a tenant from our boutique development who has closed and purchased her own home. She did not need public assistance. The difference is the information that she was exposed to, the education process. So even though we don't have our homeownership program in place, we will continue the workshops. We had scheduled for the month of June another 30 people to issue vouchers that we had to cancel. And we are on hold with that until we get clearance from HUD. But I need to say this, HUD really stepped up. They really stepped up. We had built up some reserves. Can you guys believe that? We built up reserves, so they were able to give us some of our reserves so that we could meet the payment to pay all the landlords. I think we had 180 for the month of June, $180,000. The problem, because we've always had money in the bank, we would have been able to meet that deficit. The problem is that we got hit with an $80,000 recall for overpayments in the last fiscal year. I don't know how we could not see that we were being overpaid $80,000. And especially with the fact that I just couldn't see that part, but we are obligated for it. It's an agency issue, and the agency has had to deal with it. But HUD gave us our reserves back. So we are now in the process of building our reserves back up again.
Of those 30 vouchers you said that we couldn't put out, that means people are just kind of
They're waiting.
limbo and waiting on us.
They're waiting. But our budget is going to change for the next fiscal year. So it's not hopeless. Because we were able to issue. We issued more than they thought we would be able to do, based on the history of the agency. So but remember, the year ends in September. So we'll get our new allocation. Our budget will be adjusted based on activity. The budget is based on activity. HUD has changed from the process where each voucher has money attached to it. That's not the way it works. The budget is prepared based on the activity and the history. It's a projection based on activities. And historically, the Department of Housing and Urban Development has had funding issues. So they're not going to give $2 million to an agency because that's how many vouchers they have, but they only do $150,000 worth of work. Or 100, it's based on the history of the agency.
So future years, we will be able to get more?
We will go up and up and up. Well, remember that we got some repositioning that's going to happen, so we will get more.
All right. That being said, you want to touch base with
Low rent.
Okay, for our low rent, for the month of, ending May 31st, 2019, we had a total of 31 units vacant. However, 19 of those units are included on our modernization list. as of today, we have 33 units with 2 additional move-outs.
And one death. You counting Virginia?
No, unfortunately, we did lose a tenant in our Hornville development recently. So she's not included in this number as of yet.
So we have a total of 129 units. Of that 129, we have 33 units that are vacant. We have requests, and we've moved our vacant units to modernization. I did a request for the remaining of those units to be moved to mod from the vacant category, because if they're vacant, we don't make money off of it, we lose. If they're in mod, we still get paid for those units. And HUD is at the point where they're questioning it, rightfully so, because we're not in the business to take units offline. However, what I've done is I've requested that they literally come to St. Charles and do a tour. I want them to come and do a tour. We are not just making decisions to put units on mod. We're putting units in the mod program because that's the only place they should be, based on the condition. Structurally, we are solid. I've always thought that we were solid, but cosmetically, and it's deplorable.
Environmentally.
And environmentally, it's a safety issue, it's a health issue. I mean, I put my job on the line by saying I wouldn't lease them out. You know, nobody deserves to live in that type of condition. And then the catch-22 is if we lease them out and the HUD come and do an inspection, we're gonna feel them on REACT. You know, so the amount of work that needs to be done in these units, they need to be on mod. Anything that we had that could have been leased up, we actually put back on the market. We moved tenants from units that were not safe and that did pose a health issue into those units that we put back on the market. We have a plan where I don't know if it was interjected by the board or by HUD, but we were required to do a 30-day turnaround, which means this is my year. I will have been here a year tomorrow. So we've done over 12 units, which means we've exceeded that 30-day goal. It's just that we couldn't lease them out because we had so many tenants that were living in such deplorable conditions that we had to use it to relocate. As of today, there is no one in DeSalman. DeSalman is boarded up. We have cameras that's being installed, so it does not become a little hideout for the criminals that want to do illegal activities. So we will be able to monitor it. We've secured everything, but nobody deserves to live out there. In Boutique and in Hornville, we're focusing on REACT. We hired a REACT inspector to come in, and he socked it to us. The good thing is that we hired him. So what we're doing is addressing the issues that he has pointed out to us so we could be prepared for when HUD get there. We have started exterior in both developments. We've addressed the electrical issues, we've addressed the plumbing issues, and now we're moving to structural issues. What we're focusing on are the bathrooms. And we're focusing on the bathrooms because the bathrooms have an issue where at some point someone decided not to buy the proper material when they were doing repairs around the bathtubs, and now those materials are deteriorating, and underneath them are black-like substances. So we're replacing those things. We are addressing the egress. We have 176 units. Windows. I need to stop on that. That's your part, huh? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop talking. But our numbers are down as it relates to our income because we've taken units off of the market. But the decrease is not as bad because we're not doing the flat rent thing. We weren't supposed to be doing that. It's causing problems with tenants. We've had a couple of evictions, but trust me when I say, if somebody's evicted, if we have an eviction, we have exhausted everything that we could do to help them because we know it's an adjustment for the increase in the rent.
All right. At this time, Mr. Charles.
Yes, sir. As Ms. Hollis just was saying, far as the REACT, we have already completed some of the stuff in Boutique. We did the pressure washing on both sites, so that's taken care of. We've addressed the hot water heater situations in the Boutique Complex. We're going to send out notices to start on Hornville next week. And as she said, in the Zalmans, that is completely shut down. We continue to cut the grass and stuff like that out there, but that is totally secured. We have a camera out there. We're about to have that set up so any criminal activity will be recorded out there. Far as the windows, as Ms. Hollis said, we have bids out right now. We accepted bid. We're just looking over them for 176 windows that will be taking care of the block egresses in the unit, so that won't be a problem anymore. Not all the windows will be replaced, but we're replacing the ones that's creating a failure on the REACT list, and those are the ones that won't stay up. Those are the ones that we're replacing. For as the REACT stuff, that we have other things in plan, but those are the things right now that's top on the list. And like she said, with the bathrooms, we are out now looking at the different units to situate ourselves to start taking care of the bathroom problems in the two sites of Hornville and Boutique. We have accepted 4 different bids for roofing jobs. One is in Hornville, one is in Boutique. We're looking over those bids, and we're going to be awarding that job to somebody as soon as HUD let the funds go through. We have looked at, HUD has put out this, I want to say, mandated that you have carbon dioxide detectors in your units. You have to get 3 different quotes when you're dealing with the federal government. We've got 3 different quotes now. We just want to make sure we get something that's going to be durable and that's going to last. We're going to look at something that is tamper-proof, 10 years, tamper-proof, so you don't have to go inside there or anything like that.
Did they say whether or not it had to be a hardwired?
I read, and I didn't see
did not
anything.
specify.
Right, I didn't see anything, but I did look and see. That was one thing we was wondering too, should they be hardwire or battery? And we didn't see anything, so we're just going to go with the battery. But if somebody out there, can show me where they say be hardwire, we'll definitely make the accommodation to make them hardwire, because the smoke detectors are in the units hardwire and battery backup.
Okay.
All right, we did that. Spoke with DBL with the ongoing sewer problem in Hornville. They supposed to be starting hopefully next week. You know what I'm saying? I told me school is about to start, and half of that street is going to be cut up, so we need to take care of that as soon as possible so that bus be able to get through there, and the kids won't have to be worried about the kids, to have the street, but they say it will be covered and stuff. It's still the fact that half the side of the street will be cut open at one time. Then once they have to do the other side, that side of the street will be cut open. So I'm telling you, the quicker y'all can get that done, it's better off for us.
I could take it from here. You didn't introduce, you've introduced Hornville.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The contractor, we have executed our contract with DBL. We understand that we have issues in Hornville. We've verbally been told that there are some issues where the compromise occurred when the lift station was moved from adjacent to Hornville. We have gone back and forth. I entered into the discussion of whether or not the parish can or cannot help us. We've met with several officials, and those officials have all said that they wanted to help us. However, they were prohibited from helping us because it would have been illegal or a violation. So we've gone back and forward with that. At this point, our contractor meets with the parish more than they meet with us as it relates to Hornville. Whenever I talk to them, I get an answer, well, I got a meeting with such and such in a week. I'll get back with you. It has been almost a year since we've executed that contract. It has been almost a year since HUD has given us the money to pay for the contract. So at this point, we're not even asking for money. We just want the problem resolved. In addition to that, if there is something that's going to impede progress because of what's happening where our land meets the parish land, then we need to address that. And let's come together and work as a team on that. So I've had the attorney to write a letter to our attorney, Don Paul Landry, to write a letter to the parish attorney asking for clarification, because everywhere I go, I'm told that, it's okay for the parish to participate in funding, be it in-kind or money. It could be in-kind services. So he wrote a letter just asking for clarification as to why the parish attorney felt that it would not be a legal activity. And we have not gotten a response from that. But what I did do with that letter is I took that letter and I copied it, and I sent it to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and also CC'd our chairman on the letter. I've also had, and I've asked them to give us clarification on the position, what they thought. And I was told to refer to our cooperative operation agreement. That's a document that was created when the Housing Authority was created. There was a process that St. Charles Parish had to go through in negotiating with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And at that point, that document was created, and all housing authorities have that document. And there is a section in the document where the parish has agreed that they would treat our development and the residents the inhabitants in our development as they would any other in the parish. So if there was an issue somewhere in the parish where we had compromised sewer systems or infrastructure, then the parish would fix it. We don't want them to fix it, but we would appreciate some help. But that language is actually in the document. I didn't have time to copy it.
Basically, it's a responsibility battle, or
It's a responsibility battle.
And so I got a question then. The people that reside in our housing developments, they're residents of St. Charles Parish,
They are.
right?
That is
They're
correct.
voting residents of St. Charles Parish.
That is correct.
So our parish apparently are kind of ignoring voting residents of their own parish, and working in parish, provide tax dollars
Just like everybody else.
just like everybody else, and they're choosing to let their own people live in sewage.
We're addressing it at least once a week.
So I know
That seems like a big problem to me.
Well, not quite a year ago, it's been almost a year, I believe, that we declared a state of emergency in regard to the sewage issue. Since that time, Ms. Hollis, myself, and some of the other board members, as well as members of parish government, our attorney, Don Paul Landry, there have been multiple meetings, multiple phone calls, multiple conversations regarding the issue regarding the plumbing. Prior to that time, and under the leadership of the previous executive director, we did cleanouts and different things to try and be a temporary fix. In one of the meetings with BLD, and I'm going to go on record as saying this to the public, they came out and inspected the property. They explained the situation and what caused the issue. And they said that when the conversion was made at the site, to bring the housing development online, the parish put the pipe at the wrong level. Am I saying that right?
You are.
All right. So that was said. Admittance that it was a government issue, regardless of the cooperating agreement. Since that time, we declared a state of emergency. We have had meetings. The parish government assumed no responsibility at that time. I would hope in an election year that the parish government and whoever's listening, whoever listens later on, and hope to God that this thing is spread across the parish and even the world and goes viral, for God's sake. There are people suffering because our parish government wants to tiptoe around an issue because of legalities when every parish in this state, their housing authorities, their municipalities receive money to fix this issue. Every municipality in the country that has a housing agency receives money from their local municipalities and their counties. And there is no reason that in St. Charles Parish, the parish of plenty, that we cannot contribute to help people that, for whatever reason, are in public housing. This is an issue that needs to be addressed. So I'm going on record to say that. But beyond saying that, we did declare a state of emergency, and we did contract with BLD. Since that time, the work has not started, and it's not for lack of funds from the housing agency. We've worked out a way that we're going to figure out how to pay it, and the bills will get paid. But they're now in secret meetings with parish government, and the project has stalled. So what I'm saying is the project needs to go forward. You have a contract with this agency, and regardless of who pays your bill, get the job done.
And
Mr. Chair, if I may,
The letter's in your packet.
You may.
we have been quietly hashing this issue. You know, there have been times when I legally can't have a conversation with you all. I have, and I just I'm looking at the date on this. From 1971, the parish made this agreement to live up to what we're asking them to do now, and I just second and strongly echo everything you've just said, and wherever this needs to go, I think it's at a point now that it needs to go there, that it is publicly addressed. We give our time up here. We want to do what's right by our residents about the tenants, and we need your help. You've signed an agreement, and we're asking, so let's just keep this moving forward. If we need to meet with the parish president, whoever, let's put that out there. But let's, and I'm going to just say this also, let's just begin to make some noise. The sheriff who just left here said those squeaky wheels that make noise tend to get a little grease. So maybe it's time for this board to step up. We're not the library board. We're not all these other boards who get the parish tax dollars. If I'm correct, we're supported by HUD and the federal government, but it's St. Charles Parish. So Mr. Parish President and council people out there, we're just going to take this time to just call you out and say, please, come and help us out. Come and help us out. With that, I do support every word you just said, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right.
Well, where do I start?
Ms. Hollis, would you like to give your
Thank you.
executive report?
Thank you for your support. No, but on a serious note, our biggest expense is plumbing. Our biggest expense is plumbing. And I understand the frustration. I have tenants, that get pretty irate with me. I have the ability to step back. Sometimes, I might get a little loud. I have a tendency to step back. But I have to say, I understand it. I understand the frustration, rightfully so. It's the plumbing, it's the living condition, it's a plethora of problems, and it is a misconcept if people think that because it's public housing, there are people who are criminals and drug addicts. That's not what we have. We're residents of St. Charles Parish that vote, who children are enrolled in school and have to walk through that, to get to the bus, and then at the same time, when they come home, they have to come home and they live in the way that they're living. How do we say that we inspire people to do better? How do we say that we motivate people to want better when everything around them is dark? So, I always talk about how I love the job. I love the job. Our tenants, I want to say, and I'm saying our tenants because it's ours, you as the commissioner, me and as the director, I want to say in the last year, I could see the difference in the tenants. And I understand why I see a difference in them, because they were hostile. They used to want to beat up maintenance. I get no maintenance complaints anymore. But our tenants, they see that we are trying to do. We are helping them thanks to Ms. Karen to organize themselves. And maybe that's what they need to do. Remember, I told you we can't fight for y'all. Y'all got to fight for yourself. And I'm saying y'all because you all happen to be a resident as well. A resident as well. So I'm glad to hear that the board wanted to kick up some dust. I don't have a problem. I'm not nice all the time. No, I try. I think that there's always a way to compromise.
And I think that the tenants tend to be misunderstood because they don't have the proper information that they need to understand what's going on. Like maybe they need a meeting every so often.
There is why we need a resident.
To them about why things go this way, why, because I don't always understand it, like some of the information that I received today, because I was in the back of my head like, well, why did they stop the voucher program? Why we got that freeze? But I didn't get the answer.
But you have it now.
I have it now. But then the tenants, they start assuming, we say crazy things, the tenants. I'm hearing the things they're saying, and I don't even know how to redirect them or correct them to inform them of the proper information. I think being misinformed most of the time is the reason they react the way they react.
Yes.
And I'm saying it because I understand it totally. And if they blaming you for the plumbing, clearly they know that's not your fault because they even say they grew up there. Their mamas raised them in those houses. So they know that those houses were in that condition for over 50 years. They understand that the plumbing is bad, but there has not been
Progress.
directed. Nobody has not fixed, adjusted, and it's been a long time coming because now you're trying to fix some things that's been going on for 50 years. None of the plumbing has been changed. Underground, on top of the ground, however it's been like that. I've talked to a few tenants, and they was telling me some stories, and I was like, so your mom raised you here? And now you're back here raising your children here. And now your children here raising their grandchildren here. So how long these buildings been up here? That was my question.
They were constructed in 1969.
So that's why I'm saying, like, that's the biggest picture that people don't really, like, understand why we so behind in time with things that we need and things are so behind. You understand what I'm saying? They just need the information like, look, this didn't happen overnight, but we really want to fix it because we understand that it happened. We wasn't the reason that it happened, but we want to try to fix the problem or get it taken care of so we can all live better. And that's where a lot of the anger come from the tenants. They thinking we just all coming in and doing the same thing the next person did. And that's how they feel and they also feel like they've been let down a few times before and they just want to finally get to the promised land. They want to live good. They want to be able to get into their own housing program. People work every day. And I know I'm trying to get there.
Right.
Even with fixing credit and just they need something else to come in for as teaching because they don't know.
Well, I challenge you, Ms. Commissioner, as a resident and as a commissioner, I challenge you. And that challenge is any program you bring to me that's viable, we will implement it.
Okay.
We've already talked about the home ownership.
Yeah.
We know that, not the home ownership, the credit restoration, which I think is an excellent start.
Yeah.
And I know that you happen to know someone that has that program, and that person is willing to come to St. Charles. We have a community center.
Right.
So we're talking about minimum overhead. We can use our facility to print the material. We don't have the resources because we don't have the resident association. We need to get that.
Okay.
We don't have the resources to pay them. But if they are being paid, as most nonprofits are by a third-party entity, then we can provide the space so that we can host those courses at our Hornville location. Or we could do it at the library. The library was so impressed.
I was already consistent.
The library was so impressed with the homeownership workshop that we did. They have pledged to partner with us for any future endeavors that we do. So we could use the library as well. All right?
And in regard to the guest speakers or instructors or whoever, consultants that you have for these types of events, we can certainly also reach out to business communities for sponsorship if there needs to be compensation.
For the workshop,
So
yes.
I appreciate the fact that this is a board that wants to see progress. I also appreciate that this is a board that's not afraid to bring ideas to the table. Because it's not, this is, look, we've done some things, we've corrected some things, but we still have a long road ahead of us.
Yes.
We're on the right path. We're cleaning house in more ways than one. But it's, you start with a buildings that were in 1969 and have over the years, for various reasons, either lack of funds, poor management, whatever, have come to the point that they're in now. And it's not going to happen overnight, but we are moving in the right direction. And with the relationships that we do have with parish government, we've seen some great things happen as well. So it's not all bad, even on that end, but it's just a matter of, so many times, and this is the frustration, so many times when you're dealing with government agencies and bureaucracies, everybody's afraid to do what's necessary to get things done. Everybody's fact checking and checking the legalities of this and legalities of that because nobody wants the buck to stop with them. But the truth of the matter is there are people that are living in deplorable conditions. And until somebody has a backbone to step up and say it and then act on it, things aren't going to change. And I thank God today that we have a group of people that are in this room that are willing to keep fighting the fight.
Just what keeps going through my mind, and just for clarity, well, I think that's what I heard you say. So as far as the sewer system in Hornville, we have at this point have HUD help us to come up with the funds. We've actually gone and found a contractor to do the work, and we're looking at possibly spending our money, of course, with help from the parish. But that contractor is now meeting with the parish and not with us. Is that what I?
Well, we met with them. We understood. They shared with us what the problem was. Commissioner and I, we met with them, and they verbally told us what the problem was. The problem that we have in what developed is that when we asked him to put it in writing, because one, I'm using federal dollars, so I can't just go to HUD and say, okay, well, we have a plumbing problem. I have to justify what we have, and justify that with empirical documentation from a licensed contractor that is going to give me a scope of service. In that scope of service, you have to identify what you're fixing. So it took us months to get that document in writing, and one better than that, to get it in writing, we literally I took the responsibility from them. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to put it in writing. So I got with our attorney, Don Paul Landry, and we put the contract in writing and inserted their scope of service. We've executed, that was sent to HUD. We've had an engineer to come from New Mexico, walk the property, confirm what we said was the issue, approval from HUD. I have $88,000 available right now to pay the contractor to repair, and the contract has been executed. But they have been meeting with the parish. So from that point, we've been waiting. But Mr. Taylor did talk to him today, and he did say that they should be starting within 2 weeks.
Next week.
Next week.
But this is a year in the works.
Yeah.
A year in the
And
works.
how long have we had the contract?
But he's
executed?
given us a start date before. I don't have anything tangible. There's a process. He has to.
He has given us a start date in the past.
He say, yeah, oh yes, many a times.
And so, when was the contract first initiated with BLD?
In writing, in the form of writing, I want to say maybe about in September.
Okay.
Somewhere around about September. We
And meanwhile, are they still flushing the line and keeping it clear, or?
we flushing the line. We flushing. We got Blue Flash out there. At least what?
So who's paying for that?
We are paying for that.
Could we ask our contractor? It looks like we're going to be paying that as we move forward. Every time that they meet with whoever they need to meet, if it's the parish, that we have a representative in that meeting, if it's our maintenance supervisor or a commissioner or somebody, so that we can be informed as to what's going on also.
We can make that request. I think we're intentionally not in that meeting, because if we sat in that meeting, we would hear as they try to resolve the issues of the liability that they have.
You know, could get to the
Because it
bottom of
wasn't
that now.
started.
But we're paying.
They don't want nobody else to come out there, no news reporters. Because that just don't make no sense. Because you gotta get the news people
The news
involved
reporters.
for them just to start a job or see what's
This
going on.
girl likes to call, she
I
called,
don't like to call them,
She
but that
calling-
don't
she
make no
calling for
sense.
me.
No, I did not.
The commissioner
Whoa.
He rolled up on me. He asked me a question.
I can't,
is saying without saying that she's about to
I
make
would
a phone
not-
call, for
I
fuck's
can't.
sake.
But I'm just saying.
I've always been honest with you. One thing that you're gonna get from me, and that's honesty. Transparency is a friend of mine. Because I found out she called a news reporter.
No,
I'm
I
like,
did not. That's not facts.
Wait, look what I say. I said I would have called him too.
Don't even know
for
his
the
number.
issue. For the issue, that
I know
don't
how to
matter.
contact them.
It doesn't matter. For the issue that they were addressing, I would have called them.
Somebody else
So,
called them.
so it wasn't inappropriate.
Hey, wonderful. Our parish president is here.
So with that being said, I do not, I don't give directions to the residents. What I do is I provide resources to you because the intent of the Department of Housing and Urban Development is to address your needs, your concerns, if you are living in one of those units that we have. So in order for your needs and your concerns to be truly addressed, it has to come from you.
Right.
So I need the input. So I'm not going to ever tell you what to do. And we talked about that when we talked about the resident council and the president. I have ideas who I think will serve good, but I can't choose who that person is.
Right.
So whatever you feel like you need to do, I'm not giving you a yay or nay.
I've been trying to get her on board, but she just haven't came forward.
Then that mean that's not the person that's for the job, because whoever takes that job has to be a doer.
Gotta be active.
Got to be active. I don't know if you can serve two roles.
Okay.
I was just saying that
I'm gonna say this is the
be
few times
exposed.
we can only have discussions in public and at meetings and what we're saying right now is just what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we've been working at, and we can't, because of sunshine laws and stuff, we can't have these conversations. So we're having them in a public meeting, and this is where they should be. And I think as a board, we're just putting it out there of where we are. Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Cox?
Thank y'all. Sorry I wasn't watching the meeting. I got a couple calls from my staff, and I'm appalled at what I heard so far. So I'm going to ask y'all to take a little brief recess, because y'all want to do this on TV, as you're saying? Y'all feeling it? I'm feeling it too. We'll do it on TV. Hold on. I have my attorney coming, the Public Works Director coming, and somebody from my staff. So we can debate this tonight. Since y'all already started it on TV, let's go ahead and debate it and get the facts out there.
All right.
Because just some of the little things I heard is lies and is inaccuracies.
Well,
And y'all know what we've done so far.
Mr. Cochran, if
But I would
that's the
respectfully
case,
ask that if y'all can give me 15 minutes, because they're on their way. And then we can go back on TV and we can debate all of this, what y'all talking about.
I would love that opportunity, and if there
There you
were
go.
inaccuracies said, then let's clear them up. I'd be glad to. I'd love to hear what you got to say.
Well, okay. So y'all gonna stay here and wait then?
Well, we have to go in executive session, so we could do that. Then we have to come back out.
Well,
I don't want to do this in executive session.
no.
No, we have to. It's
We
part
do
of our
have,
agenda.
but we can take a recess in the meantime, because then we can, if something needs to be discussed based on, we'll figure it out, but we definitely want to hear from everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, so can we get a motion from the board to,
To do our executive session, and then we'll come back.
no, I don't want to do that.
Recess.
We'll just take a recess at this time. The time's 7:09, and we'll just, at this time, go into recess.
Yes, sir.
Hey, well, they're gonna sit right here, we don't have to jump up, and I'll just do it from the podium, okay? Y'all right with that?
Absolutely, sir. This is your building.
All right, the meeting's back in session. The time's 7:36. We'll now be hearing from the parish president, Mr. Larry Cochran.
All right, thank y'all very much for taking this little break, and I couldn't assemble the whole team, but I got most of the answer people right here, so let's start talking about what y'all were talking about earlier, questions, and let's get the answers.
All right, Ms. Hollis, would you take the lead on that?
I don't have a question right now because I need to be clear, first of all, about what the issues are. The issues that we discussed here as executive director, and I shared with my board, is the conditions of the St. Charles Housing St. Charles Housing Authority. And initially, when this started, I started my conversation by saying that the parish has helped us in the past with the problem, specifically saying that the elected officials and parish president wanted to help us, but we had a legal issue that was prohibiting. And for us to get a clarification as it relates to how we should move forward, I was specifically told, if I can find legal language or regulation that says that the housing authority can be supported by the parish, then I was to bring it back. I've been to DC, I've talked to our senators, I've talked to our Congress people, I have been to the Washington DC Office of Housing Authority. I have talked to other municipalities, and everyone has shared with me that I need to find a document which is called an operation agreement. An operation agreement was executed by the parish of St. Charles and the Housing Authority upon the development being completed. So I have a document that was executed in 1971. Where's the document?
I think you have right next to you.
Oh, so I was able to contact someone who has archives, and I've been able to get all the documents from the early 70s pertaining to the Housing Authority. In any agreement, it has language that states that subsequently, after the development and putting in the infrastructure, there's in paragraph 5, part A, it also states that the parish can further furnish, or the parish can further help and treat the residents of the housing development as any other resident in St. Charles Parish. So that's what we were discussing, and we were specifically discussing a letter when we talked about the parish that was written by our attorney to the parish attorney. And in that letter, all we are asking, sure you can. I also emailed and CC'd you a copy of that. I can forward that email. Let me get back to the mic. I took that letter that was written from our attorney to the parish attorney for clarification of what you guys felt was the barrier. That's what the letter is asking. And we have not gotten a response to that letter. So I took that letter, I CC'd you, sir, your office, you specifically. I called your office and got your email. My boss, and also the field office, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and asked them if they could give us clarification.
Okay, and the document you're referring to, not to interrupt you, but, as we talk, and I just want to cover some bases as we go. The document you're referring to.
The letter.
Yes, no, the agreement. Okay. Yes, it does say we're going to do for y'all just as we do for any resident. Okay, that means bringing the sewer, the water up to the right of way. It's just like any other resident in the parish.
To where we tap in.
Where y'all can take it from there. We don't go in anybody's house and fix things.
Right.
We don't fix hot water heaters. We don't fix sewer overflows. We do what we can to help them with the main line going to the house as far as cleanouts and all. And that's what we've done with y'all. We set our vacuum truck out when y'all had massive overflows. And someone said it earlier on TV that the kids were in feces and urine and stuff. And we went out there with our vacuum trucks and cleaned everything up and got the line unplugged. okay?
Yes, yes, you are 100% correct. You have done that. The problem is that it's still happening.
But
We are still
that-
in.
That's
the-
y'all responsibility, though, to
Well,
fix it as
sir,
a board. Y'all
the
have
issue-
monies to do that.
If you will allow me to finish.
I'm sorry.
The problem is that it's still happening. When we get to our line, we are taking care of it. The problem is that the infrastructure we're referring to is in the street. It's not to where the sewer tap occurs. It's in the street. So we literally, and we are going to pay for that,
Can I, real quick?
for
can I-
some of it.
Can I ask you a question then? What is your contractor doing to alleviate the problem? Where are they working? They're working in the street or they working next to the apartments?
In the street, sir. It is in the street.
But they're working next to the
It's because
apartments too.
of, it's because of the collapse in the street. It's the main line, the collapse in the street.
Mm-hmm.
That, and it's not flowing. And because it's not flowing, it's causing the sewage. The sewage itself is
Understand.
in fact in the yards, in the driveways, but the problem is in the streets.
And that one right there is a problem for the housing authority. Because when we talked about Boutique, we're talking about Hornville now, right?
We're talking about Hornville.
Okay. Remember we had the discussion about Boutique?
Boutique
Did
is a public
something a
owned
long
street.
time ago, right.
It was
So
accepted, and Hornville was not.
We took the street, right. So y'all are still responsible for the street as we've talked in the past,
We understand that.
okay? And that's
Yes,
why the
sir.
contractor, y'all have the contractor right now trying to fix it.
We understand. Yes, that is correct. We have.
Just want to be clear and make sure
We have
everyone
engaged,
understands.
which is
for the,
what we've
sake
been
of the
saying
board.
throughout the meeting. The issue, the problem is the infrastructure. Our dilemma that we're addressing right now is whether or not we can go to the parish for support, be it financial or in kind. That's the issue. The issue is whether or not the parish can support us in repairing that. We're not saying that we're not responsible. The issue is funding. The issue is funding, and both of the developments are a part of St. Charles. But for the record, Boutique, we do not get assistance in Boutique anymore either. So once we started with the contractor, the next problem we had with infrastructure, and they've always come out. But the next problem we had, and we called the parish, we were told, what were we told, Charles?
We can no longer assist y'all. You know what I'm saying? We can only go through our lines and no, but we've never had that problem
Well,
before.
y'all came into the money that y'all have now.
No, we don't have money. We didn't come into
Well, I
anything.
mean, I was just told out in the corridor that y'all have the money to fix this stuff. That's why the
We're using
contract is in
money.
place.
We're using money which is called CFP, which is capital fund. And the capital fund that I have to renovate the units, I have carved, which means I have units, I have a whole development that's offline. I have a whole development. There's no one that's living in the Salmon because of the amount of work that we need to do. I have $100 and some odd $1,000. I can't spend money in the Salmon. I can't spend that money on the units. That's what it's for. Because we've gotten an emergency declaration to allow me to change our budget and use that money. We didn't get extra money.
In respect for you, you inherited this
I know, sir.
nightmare, okay?
Yeah.
We all
And,
did.
I would
Yes, sir.
like to clarify that I think the entire
Whole board, I'm
here-
sorry,
Our
yeah,
board
all of
has,
y'all.
yes,
Because,
yes,
Yes.
you know, the problem we're seeing right now is how it was done in the past with the previous board, the previous director, okay? I want to give you credit for what you're trying to do to make things better, okay? Y'all doing a good job. But to get up here on TV and start pointing fingers, that's not the right way to do it. We should have met, y'all should have been in a loop, which, you know, I just met some of y'all for the first time tonight. The money was squandered, I don't know what happened to it. It didn't happen overnight.
management.
It's taken time, and it's a lot of money, quite frankly.
Yes.
You know, I was appalled when I came into office and heard all these problems. We've done everything we can do to the letter of the law. I want y'all to understand it. I want the residents to understand that, okay? Because of what happened in the past, the people that's living in the housing units are paying the price, and that's sad. So we, as a parish, we've tried to do everything we can do. You know, when y'all had the problems, we've sent, you know, Public Works out there, and they've done a good job getting it fixed. We referred y'all to the contractor, okay? Before I get ahead of myself, Bobby, do you have anything to add?
I just want to point out that the cooperative endeavor agreement that was signed in 1971, I saw for the first time 30 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. And the way I read it is the way, and I explained it to President Cochran in the hallway, is that it does require us to provide the utilities as we would provide them to any other member of the public. That is, from the main line, the parish line, to the property line. And then the property owner picks it up from there and runs onto his property and does whatever he needs to do to service his own home. That's our obligation, as I read in that cooperative endeavor agreement. Now, you have to understand, you all handed it to me just in the hallway. I don't even have it in front of me anymore. I returned it to you. So I read 1 or 2 paragraphs in just a few moments' time, and that's what I saw. That's what was highlighted. I think you
Yes,
said,
sir.
here's the
It's just
paragraph that counts right here, and
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I read.
Yes, sir.
So with that having been said, I think based on that cooperative endeavor agreement and based on what I saw in that cooperative endeavor agreement, the parish is honoring its obligations, its commitments to the public and to the housing authority and to the residents of the different projects. And if there's a problem on the non-parish side of the line, then that's not for us to deal with. We do help when there's overflows and so forth. I think there's no dispute. Everyone sees.
There's no dispute in that
Yeah,
regard.
there's
The
no
parish has
dispute.
been helpful.
We've helped. And that's above and beyond.
And I think that's the issue. I think that is the issue. That's what we're trying to get clarification on. Because we are under the impression that St. Charles Housing Authority is a part of the parish, even though we are a state federal funded entity. It is still a part of St. Charles Parish government. It's just not governed by the council, but we are partners.
I think the way
And that's what
it's-
we've been trying to get, clarification on.
Again, my appreciation, and you all, I'll defer to you all once again, but my understanding is that you are a federal agency, or you're funded entirely by a federal agency, and the board is appointed, I believe, by the parish president. I think you get a per diem check for when you come over here to these meetings.
That's correct.
But that's it. That's it. That you're funded by the federal government, and so that the local communities have some touchy-feely, some input and so forth, the federal government allows the local government, and in this case, I think the law was changed to allow the parish president to appoint the board. That's strictly to have the local flavor so that the people, the residents can have access, if you will, to the management. That's it.
That's
But
the crossroad.
You're not a division of St. Charles Parish. You're not a parish agency. I don't think you're a state agency. I think you're federally funded, and that's your genesis. That's what you are.
That's the crossroad.
You're not a St. Charles Parish entity.
And I think where the problem lies is that when, because, and I know most of the board members at this point have been to conferences. I know Ms. Hollis, myself, and Councilman Bellick have all met with officials in D.C. We've had meetings at the field office for HUD here, and every single meeting that we have been on with anyone at the federal level, and even some state officials, I think, in one of the meetings, said, why don't y'all get funds from the parish? Every other agency, that's what we're being told.
That's the issue.
And so, look, a lot was said earlier, but I think a lot was also taken out of context, because our frustration is mostly, I think, with the federal bureaucracy. That was my point when we began the discussion. It was not even about the plumbing. It was about the fee accountant, and that our hands are tied in a situation where we're dealing with a fiscal year. We need a new accountant. We have to put RFPs out, and here lies our issue with the accounting issue. But on the other aspect of that is that we have federal requirements that have to be met, but the funding simply isn't there, and they're telling us to come to the parish. So I think some of what was said was probably taken out of context. But the end result was we're all here having a conversation, so I think that's a good thing.
Well,
And if I may say, and he's right, we've been going to seminars and stuff, trying to learn what we need to be doing and everything. And I have to agree with what my chair just said. All the other entities are surprised when we say we don't get funding from the parish. The city of New Orleans, I mean, other people from different states that I've met at conferences, they all are surprised that we don't get funding from the parish. Now, we could be totally wrong, I'm gonna put that out there, but that's what we hear from other board commissioners.
How
Mr. Williams,
long has this board been around?
And
How long has the board been around?
the current,
No, how long has this housing authority?
my understanding, it was formed in
71.
1970.
How many times since 1970 has the parish come to bear financial obligation to the housing board?
To my knowledge, zero.
Okay, so there's some precedence there.
There is.
You know,
And-
there's something going on there to say, you know, maybe they shouldn't be funding this board. I don't know what's going on in other parishes, but because they're doing it, doesn't obligate us to do it.
No, it does not. And I did want to clarify the point that the current situation with funding predated your administration. So we're not resting this responsibility in any way, shape, or form to say
Let me be
this was a
clear.
decision of your
This is not
administration.
about any administration. This is about helping the residents in the housing.
I think that's all of our goals. We're all in public service for that goal.
Well, I think we're obligated. You know, y'all have my trust. I appointed y'all all to the board. Y'all doing a good job, by the way. You're doing an excellent job. And Webb J, I've seen you age since you've taken on
He
this.
does, he is.
No, quite honestly, I've seen this man. I was worried he was gonna have a heart attack at one time. I really was. I'm not just saying that. It was before Ms. Hollis came on. He was up against, you just don't know. He was just up against the world. And he was fighting for the residents. And I respect that, okay? These gentlemen sitting here respect that. So that's why we did everything we could to the letter of the law, all right? And we will continue to do that. The kids, as far as I'm concerned, if there's anything we can do and there's overflows, we're gonna go in there and do it.
You have literally stated that in the past, and I believe it to
have
be
done so.
100% true. That is not the issue that was before us this evening. The issue was the board's frustration with the process of getting there. I mean, I've been on the board now going on 3.5 years, and we're just now getting an issue that was brought to my attention the first month I was on the board.
Well,
And-
I think, I'd like to hear Public Works Director Fauché talk about what's going on with the infrastructure, if y'all okay with that. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yes,
Look,
we
you
would
wanna
like
go
to
ahead?
hear that.
You know, not only have we been out there and worked diligently, as has been recognized, to solve the temporary problems, we've also spent hours doing assessments and giving that information back to the Housing Authority on what the real issues are. Secondly,
To who?
To whom?
I don't know, I would have to get with my direct.
We have not received any reports.
Yes, ma'am. Well, not a report, but the feedback was given that the lines were flat, they were undersized, they were separated, and they were full of grease. And BLD went out there to do a full assessment at the request of the parish president.
No, we hired BLD. We engaged with BLD.
I don't mean to correct you publicly.
Yes, but let's-
And he'll agree, I think. Y'all couldn't get a contractor in the beginning.
No.
We could not get a contractor.
No, I called, that's not the way.
I will.
Snooki's talking about when we first started.
Oh.
Right, I'll go back, and
come out
I
in the
will
beginning.
state
Right.
that Mr. Cochran as well as Mr. Murray were
Mr.
involved.
Murray, Joey
in-
Murray also, yes.
In getting us in contact with and procuring BLD under the emergency declaration in the initial.
That is correct,
phase.
but we did
And
not.
BLD did the entire assessment for free,
That's true.
yes.
Yes, that was before you got here, Ms. Hollis.
With BLD?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Charles, were they turning over the stuff to you? or-
Back in the original, everything was given to the previous executive director. But just a side note, I just got off the phone with BLD or DBL.
BLD.
I just spoke with Danny. Danny just told me, say, they will start next week. this problem,
Actually, it's the Monday after the 4th.
Yeah, but what was the holdup? Because we were holding them up.
We were not holding them up. The question to BLD was they said that the project needed to be a kids out-of-school project, and they were just given the go-ahead a week and a half ago.
So that information was not relayed to us, and we weren't saying, we weren't saying it was negative for them to meet with the parish, because I did say on the mic that the contractor is meeting with the parish more than they meet with us, and that is because they're not communicating with us. They're not answering emails. I'm giving you my experience. They're not answering us on a normal basis or regular basis or responding to email. We do occasionally have conversation. Today was a good day. It was today, right?
yesterday.
Yesterday.
And about 5 minutes ago, I just got off the phone with
Was a
Dan.
good day.
Yes.
But a couple of weeks ago, I was told that they were going to start, but they were meeting. They specifically said, we're meeting today with the parish, and I'll get back with you. They did not. I instruct Charles to call them and get follow-up.
I spoke to the owner of BLD, and I'll be glad to get him on the phone.
You can. I'm not saying that they said anything wrong. I'm saying they weren't communicating with me. They have not.
Ma'am?
Snooki, go ahead.
Yes. BLD explained to me that they were asked to hold off on the project until it was a kids out-of-school project. Y'all just gave them the go-ahead a week and a half ago. That's from the words of the owner. They ordered the material. They have called in the dotties. The dotties will be completed sometimes next week. I spoke to not only Dan, but Danny, who is the project manager on this job, and he said that he had told Charles on Monday that they would be starting the Monday after the 4th of July.
Yes.
They're still waiting
That's
on
correct.
materials to come
Yes.
in.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Now, there is a part that the parish is responsible for. We are accepting everything up to the old wet well, which used to be a lift station, but somebody removed the pumps and made it a wet well. So the parish went in sometimes in the 80s and installed a gravity line because it was no longer a working wet well. The largest issue with your system, besides the pipes being undersized, is the extreme amount of grease that is in the lines that has to be cleaned out. And they're not going to clean them out because the lines are undersized and separated. They're going to be putting in new lines, and because you only have cleanouts, they're also going to be installing manholes at every 90-degree turn. So that way it can be serviced at any point in time. But if the amount of grease is not slowed down at some point, you're going to have reoccurring issues because it's going to clog up everything.
So the grease is coming from where?
Coming from the residents who are pouring the grease down the drain.
Yes.
Pointed down the drain.
Yes.
Thank you for that update.
Another quick
thank you.
question. How can we better educate our residents and explain to them what's going on? Like have a meeting for them to know.
Do you have meet with the residents at all?
Do that.
We
do
need to have a meeting
residents'
with
council.
them because they think that nobody don't care because this is going on for so many years. It's not just on them because that's how it looks, but it's been going on long before they
Commissioner.
came, and it's been many, many of years. I'm just trying to figure out how we can.
Well, this is what I can offer.
You as the resident commissioner, what?
I'm not the resident commissioner.
You're the resident commissioner. So as the resident commissioner, that would be under your
We would work with you to do
responsibility
that.
to organize that type of
Work with
meeting.
you to do that.
Yeah,
And the
because
board would surely support you and
I would support it.
Well, I mean, that's
Because I want-
housekeeping, and we
Right.
could, if we don't have a place to do it, we can surely use the community center. I'll offer that.
Thank you.
And we would more than happily go out there and convey whatever we need to convey to the residents.
Because if we don't teach them,
That's right,
then we
the
gonna
big
keep
problem
running
is.
into the same problem.
Right, that's exactly right.
Spending money, catch 22.
I'll tell you, I've just learned something from Mr. Snooki that I've been on this board, maybe 6 months before you got here, so, but my point is, man, what my frustration has been, we
Yes.
haven't done anything, but I just learned
Charles.
this evening that, hey, something's gonna be happening next week.
Well, this has been going on a very, very long time. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't gotten a little bit further,
Well,
honestly.
sometimes a lack of communication is the bigger problem than the problem you have. And it appears like that's where we're having a lack of communication. And Mr. Cochran, I'm going to say this to you in your face and in public. You have been very helpful to this board. You've been helpful to the parish. You've been helpful to us up in our community there. So it not imply anything to you personally or your administration or anything, but it seems like a lack of communication. I'm gonna put it on maybe among this board. We got to get better a little bit, and speaking with Public Works. So, but now we're having that communication.
Yes.
And I'm hearing a way forward now. I'm hearing a solution, and that's really all I personally wanted. I think that's all
I can offer,
this
anytime
board
y'all
wanted.
want to meet, we don't have a problem. Ms. Hollis asked for meetings, Webb asked for meetings, we hosted the meetings. Now, unfortunately, y'all wasn't in there, and I would ask that whenever we meet in the future, that the board be, asked to come as well, for everybody's on the same page.
That can certainly be arranged, and I'll second what Commissioner Wood said in regard to your administration, Mr. Cochran, and you personally.
It's not me personally, it's these
But-
gentlemen sitting right
but-
here.
Well, when we say you, we include your staff
But
and
look,
everything.
I include your administration in it, but you personally had told me in that meeting that you're available and willing to help.
Yes.
The frustration of this board in this meeting was not aimed at any one person. It was in a process of multiple things, and the sewage was just one issue we were addressing tonight.
That's a
And
major
so-
issue y'all been dealing with for quite a long time.
So the frustration came out, and if myself or any member of this board said anything that was construed incorrectly or was just
Misinterpreted?
misinterpreted or taken the way that we did not intend it, we are saying at this moment that we do appreciate the help that the parish has offered us. What we're trying to do is just simply move forward.
And that's what I want to see done. I want to see people living in decent conditions. No one should have sewer running over in their yard and their kids having to walk through it and stuff like that. So, go ahead, Rodney. I'm sorry.
While I have you here, I'm going to ask you this. I hear you said you want to do as much as you can and legally and all of that. And I think our director's working with HUD and other entities that if we do find a way or you consider this board, I won't say worthy of our intent, and we're showing you that we're trying to get the right direction. If you can find some way to legally more assist the board. I'm hearing that from you already.
And I'll say it publicly. If there is a legal precedent where we can help, where's Bob?
Well, I've been in meetings where y'all have both.
Yeah,
Our
that's
attorney will
been
vet that,
consistent.
and that's our obligation. I mean,
Okay.
that's what people pay taxes for.
And you've always stated that to us.
So
we
I'll
just
say
wanna
that
put
publicly.
out there.
And,
Okay.
look, I didn't take anything personally. I just wanted to get, the truth out tonight. Because some of the things I heard, it was just not going in the right direction, is all. And I wanted to make sure everyone understood, especially y'all on the board, where we stood, where we're going as a parish. And we're going to support the residents in them housing places. So if we can come up with that, I'm more than happy to do whatever we can.
I think we're all on the same page here this
Thank you.
evening.
Think so, too.
Apologies for whatever this board may have done or not done or whatever, but I think we accomplished something here tonight, and I really
Apologies
appreciate
to
you
y'all as
all.
well. I didn't mean to come jump in on y'all meeting.
It's quite
just I had
all
a
right.
bunch of phone calls. I just left here, so it was very easy to come back to straighten all this out.
We appreciate
And I'm glad
it.
we did. Quite
I really appreciate you coming out,
Glad
Mr.
that you
Cochran.
came.
Thanks for coming.
We really do. I mean, I feel comfortable. I really, that something's going to happen in 2 weeks to solve this issue. Mr. Snooki, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for that. We really, and now I'll say, wow, what a good evening.
Well, I mean, the gentleman sitting in the center is responsible for a lot of things that has gotten pushed forward.
Yes.
As I said earlier, he had a full head of gray hair, so I don't know what he did. 'Cause he's not there no more. So, he's got a good,
Just for men.
for men, they got a lawsuit out for that, so be careful. Do
Wonderful.
y'all have any more questions? Well, I have,
Now, I
Snooki
would
can
like to
answer a
say,
lot of
we
questions.
have approximately $35,000 worth of work on our side. And part of the reason that the parish has not changed the gravity line is because of the amount of grease. Okay, so your line comes, the biggest issue is your line comes in at one level, and the parish's line going out of the old wet well is about 7 inches above your line. So that's part of the reason your line is staying full. but it's capturing the grease presently. When this is repaired, BLD is going to take the line on our side and drop it about 12 to 14 inches lower than what it is. It's not going to change the issue of the grease, except the fact that it's not just going to build up in the wet well, but it's going to build up in our line going to our manhole also.
Not
So
the
what would you suggest that we
grease traps, grease traps somewhere while we design and planning.
What can we do?
You can do grease traps, but it really has to start with the residents and the
Maintenance.
sheer amount of grease that
Yes,
they're
sir.
putting in the drain.
Yes, sir.
You just need to educate the
And
residents.
we'll take that
That's
up on
why I
our
was
side.
asking, like, what could they do to get rid of their grease? What can we
We,
teach
don't
I
them?
think
pour
that,
down
I
the
think that
drain.
we can internally work
we need
on
to order-
something like that.
talk about that. We'll
I'll tell you,
discuss
like
Sand and
Shell,
how P-Traps
when I worked
work.
for Shell, they actually had a place to capture oil and grease.
And that's
They had
what
a
we're
tank.
trying to-
So if you had some type of separator that, or a container that was there, and we may be able to go over there once in a while and take that out,
Yeah.
if people are willing to use that.
Okay.
So that's some education side of things. But you know, if they don't have any other resource for that grease other than throwing it out in the
And that's
backyard
right.
or down the drain, then they're going to choose to do one of those.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, as I was just asking Charles, you know, maybe when he's going out there, because I'm sure in the P-traps with the grease, it's going to get clogged up. You're going to see clogs because they're not all going to go through. And maybe that's a way to start addressing it resident by resident, or even getting y'all not a grease trap, but like a dumpster to put in the back of it.
Community
You can put-
grease
You can make
dumpster.
money with it, honestly, selling it,
Yeah.
you know, for biodiesel.
Cool.
So there's definitely some options. I think a lot of it, though, does come back down to education of the residents.
Yeah.
You know, but
What
again,
happened?
we have, what, 40, 50 years of accumulated grease. So hopefully, moving forward, we're in a good shape. Mr. Cochran, Mr. Fauché, Mr. Raymond, Dwayne, would really appreciate everybody coming out, and
Thank you.
glad we could hash through this. Unfortunate the way that it came about, but I do appreciate you coming.
That's why y'all get the big bucks.
Oh, yeah. I think sometimes seeing the sausage getting made isn't pretty, but I think we've come up with a good solution.
In the
Bobby's gonna be the
effort-
one walking around smelling for the sausage.
in the efforts of communication, I never even shared this with the board, but thank you, because I can call you at any time, and you've made your resources available to me as it relates to your grant writers and your other departments that's under you, social service, which helps my residents. But I also called your officer and talked to Mr. Billy Raymond
Yes.
about potholes. And I want to say within 3 days, the potholes were repaired. You know, I didn't share that with the board. So I understand that you guys are willing to help us.
Yes,
I
you
do, we understand that. What we're trying to resolve is the interpretation on our side and the interpretation on your side as it relates to what can and cannot be done.
And let me just quickly say, I appreciate the dialogue that we're having today. When we got the initial call several months back about the situation in Hornville, we had our wastewater assistant director come out, and after Larry heard about it, both Billy and I sprung into action, got out there and did what we could, you know, just basically tried to corral everybody to one side of the development to make sure that they weren't affected by this. But our hands were tied, but there's not a day that doesn't go by where we're not thinking about what we can do to positively impact the lives of the residents that live in housing developments. And look, it's a dear place for me. I know a lot of folks that live in the areas, and trust me, they're not forgotten about. And we want to continue to have this dialogue and make these things right. Larry's committed to it, and it trickles down. So we appreciate the dialogue again, and whatever we can do to make things better, we're going to do it within our means legally.
I'd like to offer maybe the next couple months, just to get all on the same page and stay on the page, maybe every month we have one meeting, you know, at your convenience, obviously, you know, because y'all work during the day, I'm sure. So we can do it in the afternoon on the third floor and just get everybody there, like Charles there too. We can all hear the same thing and we're on the same page moving forward, and we don't have to do it on TV.
That's very much
Yes,
appreciated.
sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll get Robin to set that up starting tomorrow. And as you've done a great job. You really have.
Thank you, sir.
And this board, all of you, are heading in the right direction for the first time in a very, very long
Yes,
time. So I can see a lot of good coming out of all of this. You know, as you said earlier, you're a resident. I think you're going to see some great things coming out of this board and everybody working together. So,
Again, thank you all again so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, this time I'll entertain motions from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass a motion that we enter an executive session.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. The time is now 8:12. We enter executive session. All right, welcome back. It's time's 8:26. Do we have any motions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass a motion that we enter back into our regular meeting.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bailey.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Woods. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the time's 8:27. We're back in our regular meeting. Any board discussion or motions?
In executive session, we discussed personnel contract of IED. We're going to revisit it and come back to it. We're going to look it over based on the performance, salary, and term.
All right, so we're making a motion to extend for another year, salary to be determined? Is that?
Yes, making a
Based
motion.
on evaluation.
Second.
All right, a motion made by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Woods, that the executive director's contract be extended for another year with salary and terms to be determined after a performance review in the next month. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Any other board discussion or motions?
No, sir. Mr. Chair, with that, I'll make a move that we adjourn the meeting.
All right, a motion was made to adjourn by Commissioner Woods, second by Commissioner Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. The time's now 8:28. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all.
Sure.